I've never been picky about jobs. When you're 23, broke, and living in the middle of nowhere like Elmswood, you take what you can get. So when I saw the help wanted sign taped to the door of the local Shell station off Route 9, it was for night shift, 15 an hour, no experience needed. I didn't think twice. I walked in, filled out a one-page application, and 2 days later, I was hired. The manager, a wiry guy named Dale with a permanent cigarette dangling from his lip, barely looked at me during the interview. Just handed me a key, a faded polo shirt, and a folded piece of paper. "Read this before your first shift," he muttered, as his eyes flicked over to the window. "Follow it, don't ask questions." Then he shuffled off to the back, leaving me with the hum of the fluorescent lights and faint smell of gasoline. The paper was yellowed, creased like it had been handed out 100 times. At the top, in shaky handwriting, it said, "Rules for the night shift." Below that was a list, 10 items long, each one weirder than the last. I figured it was some hazing thing. Small town gas stations love their quirks, right? But something about the way Dale said, "Don't ask questions," stuck with me. That night, as I locked my apartment door and drove out to the station, the rules rattled around in my head. My first shift started at 11 p.m. The station sat alone on a stretch of cracked highway flanked by cornfields on one side and dark smear of woods on the other. The neon "Open 24/7" sign buzzed faintly, casting a red glow over the pumps. There were 8 of them total, lined up in 2 rows, but Pump 7, second from the right, caught my eye right away. Its paint was chipped, the numbers on the display flickering like they couldn't decide what they wanted to show. The rest of the place looked normal, a glass-fronted store with racks of chips, slushy machine, and a counter where I'd be spending the next 8 hours. I unlocked the door, flipped on the lights, and pulled out the rules. Here's what they said, word for word. Rule 1. Lock the door at midnight. Don't open it until 6 a.m., no matter who knocks. Rule 2. If the lights flicker, turn off the radio. Don't turn it back on until they stop. Rule 3. Pump 7 is off limits after 2 a.m. If a customer asks for it, tell them it's broken. Rule 4. Don't look at the security monitors between 3 and 4 a.m. Cover them if you have to. Rule 5. If you hear humming from the cooler, leave it alone. It's not the compressor. Rule 6. Check the bathroom every hour. If the mirror is fogged, wipe it clean fast. Rule 7. Don't touch the black puddle by pump 7. It's not oil. Rule 8. If you see a blue pickup truck pull in, call the number on the counter. Don't go outside. Rule 9. Keep the coffee pot full. Empty it at 5:55 a.m. sharp. Rule 10. If you hear your name from the intercom, it's not me. Stay quiet. I read it twice. Smirking at first, it sounded like a bad horror movie script, probably Dale's idea of a joke. But as the clock ticked past 11:30, the station's silence started to feel heavy. The highway was dead, no cars, no headlights, just the occasional rustle of corn in the breeze. I tucked the list under the register and settled in, scrolling on my phone to kill the time. Midnight rolled around and I remembered Rule 1. The door's lock was stiff and rusted, but I got it to click. Peering through the glass, I saw nothing but my reflection in the pumps glowing under the canopy. The nights stretched on, quiet except for the hum of the cooler, which, sounded off, but I wasn't about to mess with it. Around 1 a.m., the lights flickered, a quick stutter that made my heart jump. I glanced at the ancient radio by the register, static crackling through a country station, and shut it off. The flickering stopped, coincidentally, I told myself, but my hands were a bit clammy. At 1:45, my first customer showed up, was a guy in a flannel jacket who was a bit bleary-eyed. He pulled in a beat-up sedan, paid for $20 on pump 4, grabbed a pack of smokes, and left without a word. Easy enough. I was starting to think the rules were just nonsense. Then, at 2:15, a woman in a hoodie shuffled up to the locked door. She tapped on the glass, her breath fogging it up. "Hey, can you turn on pump 7? She called, her voice a bit muffled. I froze. Rule 3 was starting to kick in. "Sorry," I yelled back. "It's broken." She stared at me through the glass, her face half hidden by her hood, then nodded and walked off towards the pumps. I watched her stop by pump 7, run her hands over the nozzle, and disappear into the dark beyond the canopy. No car, no sound, just gone. My stomach felt a little bit twisted, but I shook it off. Weirdos come with a night shift, right? By 3 a.m., the station felt different. The air got thick with humidity you could chew through, and the cooler's hum turned into something melodic, almost a tune, but warped and wrong. I stayed behind the counter, eyes on my phone, until I remembered Rule 4. Don't look at the security monitors between 3 and 4 a.m. The little black and white screen set above the register, showing grainy feeds of the pumps, the store, and the bathroom. I'd glanced at them earlier. Nothing special, but now at 3:02, I felt a pull to look. My gut said no. I grabbed a spare apron from under the counter and draped it over the monitors, hands shaking as I tried to tie it in place. Something tapped the glass behind me, soft like fingernails, but when I turned, the lot was empty. The bathroom check was at 4 a.m. There was a single stall and seemed to be a bit cramped with a flickering bulb and a chipped sink. The mirror was fogged up, steam curling off it like someone had just showered. Though the air was cold, I wiped it clean with a paper towel fast like the rules said and caught my reflection, pale, wide-eyed, with dark smudges under my eyes. But for a second, it wasn't just me. Something shifted behind my shoulder, a blur, tall and thin, but it was gone when I blinked. I bolted back to the counter, slamming the door shut. At 4:30 a.m., I noticed the black puddle by pump 7. It was visible through the window, a shiny, ink-like patch spreading from the pump's base. It rippled, slow and deliberate, like it was breathing. Not oil, as the rule said, and I didn't want to know what it was. I kept my eyes on the clock, counting down to 6 a.m. Then, at 5:15, a blue pickup truck rolled in. Rule 8. It was old, rusted, with a cracked windshield and no plates. The engine idled loud and uneven. But no one got out. I grabbed the phone and dialed the number that was scribbled on the post-it by the register, some local area code. It rang twice, then a voice picked up, saying, "Stay inside. Don't look at it." The line went dead. The truck sat there for 10 minutes, its headlights cutting through the dark, but then it suddenly just peeled out, tires screeching. After that one, my hands were trembling just a bit. The coffee pot was next. I'd kept it full all night, habit from other jobs, but at 5:55, I dumped it into the sink. The liquid hit the drain and hissed, steam rising with a faint bitter smell that wasn't coffee. I scrubbed the pot clean. At 5:58, the intercom crackled. "Josh?" A voice whispered my name, low and drawn out. I froze. Dale wasn't here. No one was. My mouth went dry, but I clamped it shut. Staring at the speaker above the counter, "Josh," it said again, sharper and followed by a laugh, wet and gurgling like someone choking on water. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. until the clock hit 6, and the lock clicked open now on its own. Dawn broke, gray and thin, and I grabbed my stuff, ready to quit. But as I stepped outside, I saw it. Pump 7's display was lit up, numbers spinning 666 999 000 over and over. The black puddle had grown, stretching toward the store, and the air smelled like rust and something sweet. I drove home, locked my door, and called Dale. "What the hell's with the rules?" I snapped when he picked up. He was quiet for a long time. "You followed them, right?" "Yeah, but then you're fine. Don't come back if you can't handle it." He hung up. I didn't go back. I couldn't. But that night, I heard it. A faint tap on my apartment window. I pulled the curtain aside and saw the puddle, black and rippling, pooling on the sill. The next night, it was inside, under my bed. Last night, I woke up to my name being whispered from the smoke detector. It had that same gurgling laugh as it trailed off. I found the rules in my jacket pocket this morning, unfolded with an extra line at the bottom in that shaky handwriting. Rule 11. You can't quit. The puddle's in my kitchen now, spreading. I don't know what it wants, but I know it's not done with me. If you take a job at the Shell station on Route 9, read the rules. Follow them. Because if you don't, it will follow you.